Hi, everybody. Oh, Gracie, shut up. What if I got crawling up my leg? Oh, stop. Honest to God, Gracie.
Hey,
She's just
Linda.
saying,
Barefoot,
why am I not
Stephen.
seeing it in chat? Oh, because I've got it on none. There we go. Live chat. Hi, Linda. Hey, Barefoot Chickens. Steven, hello. Well, folks, Gracie, shut up. Oh, and I got to get this one recording too. Hang on, guys. And video and go. This year, half of my celery, I was chopping it down yesterday and I should have put it in water. Gracie, you don't like celery, okay? Unless
Hey,
it's
Ann.
cooked in meat. Hey, Aunt, Freaky Geek, Tina Elliott. I need something. I need something to put all this stuff in. Oh, wait, I got a garbage bag. No, I don't want a garbage bag. I'll be right back. I just got to get something to put the leaves in. Oh, ow. Oh, I had a headache like to beat the band last night. Oh my gosh.
No.
I couldn't go live on Reading with MrsVolfie last night because I just got a really bad headache.
Ricky wants to know everybody's garden's exploding. Mine hasn't done anything. Well, nothing.
Well, mine's not exploding either. But I'll tell you something. I've never seen celery go rotten on the, like, if I didn't, like, if, say this is a bunch, right? Everything around the outside was rotten. And you look pretty. You got some makeup on?
Who?
You.
Oh, last night's maybe.
Oh, why, did you go out on a date?
No, I spent the day at home.
Everyone's saying, what a nice haul. Sorry. Everyone's saying, what a nice haul of tomatoes. No, it's not. I got twice as many plants, more than twice as many plants from last year. And I'm getting less tomatoes than last year. Right? And I'm really having to tomatoes I would have thrown out last year. I'm actually, cutting dead parts off and getting them ready for the freezer. So
our wife said third year trying celery and it was the best. Cut it off and it is regrowing.
I chopped mine off right above the root. I didn't even bother pulling the roots. I didn't. If nothing else, it'll probably just rot. And
hey, Autumn.
I'm not canning celery this. What's that?
Irene says you and I look alike.
Well, we're related.
You both look so much alike.
Well, actually, you can see the family resemblance, but we really don't look all that much alike. It's just mostly our bone structure. And what that means, that's because Angie's grandfather and my mother were brother and sister. Hi, Autumn Leaf. How's it going?
Tina. Freaky Geek.
And please don't ask me to save the leaves this year. I just got too much going on. I canned beans yesterday. And see, don't waste this part, all of this part. I cut this part off, take the leaf off, and then I make this celery small. Cut the celery out. I'm just freezing this year. I'm going to freeze one bag for my garden medley vegetables when I have enough tomatoes. And then the other is going to be, like, I'm going to put them on a cookie sheet, like blanch them, put them on a cookie sheet, and then flash freeze them so they stay loose in the bag. So whenever I want some, I could just take a handful.
They were, that could pass for twins. That's how much alike they was. Yeah, no, we're
like Mary Jane and I, people could tell we were related.
Yeah,
because our mothers were sisters.
I never thought that you guys looked anything like us, but
Well, I mean, the genes don't lie, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can tell that we're related, but I don't think we look all that much alike. But we do have very similar bone structure in our faces, right?
Well,
Like
sorry, I just want to interrupt. I forgot to tell you, Mom is out of the hospital now. So
what was she doing in the hospital? Your
oh, I
mom?
didn't tell you. Yeah, yeah.
What's going
So
on?
she went down to visit Robert in BC, and she's been
Yeah.
sick the whole time. And she got really sick, vomiting and everything. And so they put her in the hospital. They did an ECG. Everything came back fine. So they ended up doing it. They kept her overnight. They did a CAT scan. And the blood test, nothing showed, but she had a severe urinary tract infection. And it
Oh
didn't
my
come out in
God.
her blood or her urine or anything. They had to do a CAT scan. So she's out of
Blood
the hospital.
isn't
She's doing
behaving
well.
as normal these days, Ange. A lot of people's blood is not behaving normal these days. You feel me? Now, folks have
doing
asked
better.
me, what?
Like I said, she's doing better.
Good.
Linda says your head is cute.
What?
Linda says your head is cute.
Oh, this is an old one. It used to have 2 flowers on it, but one fell off. Who made 17 quarts of salsa? How could you eat that much salsa?
Tina Elliott made 17 jars of salsa, canned beans and beets and carrots, and today I'm canning 20 pints of ground beef. Ooh.
Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, out of the 3 beds of celery. And you know which ones were the worst? You know those fabric beds that Rebecca sent me? It was like they wouldn't let the moisture go. There was nowhere for the moisture to go, I think. Because my bed wasn't as bad. Like the raised bed wasn't as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Living in a new world.
Try a blood cleanse. My mother would not do any of that. She listens, she goes to the doctors and she listens to them, and that's
it. Yeah. That's
Yep.
okay. That's okay. We're not gonna talk about why things are going crazy right now.
No, she tried. Remember, for a long time, she tried to do like cleanses, and she still try to eat very healthy.
Yeah.
But she has a tendency to change her mind often.
Well,
I don't know if that's a Capricorn thing, Bev.
what?
I don't know if that's a Capricorn thing.
Not necessarily. I think it's a Murney thing.
Maybe.
Not Murney. I think your mom married too young, had children too fast, and she never really got to grow up as an individual. So I think she spends a lot of time listening to her current husbands. You know what I mean?
My sister-in-law just came out of a UTI, had the same symptoms. It turned out as an infection called sepsis.
Septicemia?
Yeah. Well, sepsis. I'm trying to read this. Infected.
Here, let me see.
Very severe. She almost died. Very severe. She almost died. Yeah. Stephen, you probably have several bushes of tomatoes to cut up.
Well, I'll soon be bringing in the green tomatoes, man. As soon as I've stopped getting red ones. It's getting cold here at night. All our windows are closed, and you know me, Angie. I sleep with windows open and the fan on. Yeah. And all the windows in the house are closed. I hope your sister's better now. Oh, I made
bushels.
Tomorrow's video is kind of a zucchini parmesan. Oh my God, what are you? Looks like worm poop. Somebody, who was it who sent me the recipe? Spaghetti sauce and I don't know these fancy things like eggplant parmesan. I've never eaten eggplant in my life, and I'm not introducing it into my diet at this late stage. Why, you ask? Because I should be on the inflammation diet where I don't eat potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants because they're all nightshades.
Where are you
Problem.
in Ontario, Freaky? Sorry, Bev, go on.
Go ahead. Who's where?
Oh, just Freaky said being cold at nights in my area of Ontario most of the summer. So I just want to know where she is because it's cold here too.
Yeah, it's
I'm right on the Thousand Islands, so near
that's
Brock.
true. That's true. Oops. I just got to adjust that camera and make sure it's
It's
going to be one of those videos where you see me chopping in high speed.
I like plants, but I don't like eggs, not mixing them up. Freaky Geek.
What?
Freaky Geek. I like plants, but I don't like eggs, not mixing them up.
She's barely recovery in a rehab facility. Okay, is that your sister who got sick? Yeah, okay. Coldwater, Ontario. I've never even heard of Coldwater. Must be north. Because when I lived in Ontario, I lived in South Central Ontario, and I lived north in the Kawartha Lakes from 12 to 19, I think I was. Sort of. Somewhere around there. Oh my God. No good. It's one thing I like about putting the celery in water. They float and you can see if anything's off color. Oh, I should have put this in water last night, but you can tell how I hacked at it like a machete. But somebody sent me a recipe for zucchini parmesan, and I didn't have the Gov parmesan like they have.
Bev Stacy Robbins sent you the recipe. Linda Bob.
Oh, thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Stacy. Well, I didn't have the good parmesan that we usually get at Costco because I sent Howie to Costco, said get 2 parmesan. And he said, leave your phone on in case I have questions. But he should have phoned me and said they don't have any of the good parmesan because he brought home 2 big jars of friggin' Kraft. And it's just awful. It's just powder, right? I would have preferred he spent the money that he spent on 2 things of that for a solid piece of parmesan that I'd have to grate myself because, that's the better stuff, right? But we make do with what we have. That's for sure.
Irene asked if I also do canning like Mrs. V. Sometimes I do canning, but I'm not as heavily into it as Bev for sure. I have to phone Bev and ask her advice all the time, but I can.
This is how we got. This is how Angie and I Angie and I have spent most of our life as close friends, and then there was this period of time where we hardly spoke at all. But it doesn't make any difference because you always, when you're that close to somebody, you can just pick it right up where you left off.
Yeah, you were closer to my sisters because you lived close to them and you were all in there.
Don't even get me started, okay? I don't want to even talk about who?
I said you were, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm at the point now that if they showed up at my front door, I would probably let them in, but I wouldn't turn my back.
You're fired.
Angie phoned me one day and said, Bev, how do you do this? It was a canning question. Mm-hmm. And I said, don't you watch my videos? No, I watch this other, we're not going to say the channel, this other channel where this woman does a lot of rebel canning. And I'm like, Angie, come on, watch my videos. Yeah. Trust me. I'm pretty thorough. My sister and I will sometimes do video chat and spend the day together cooking. Oh, that's nice. I like to visit with my sister sometimes, but usually it's a phone call. And
just for your FYI, does Angie also have a homestead? Nope.
I don't have a homestead.
Well,
yeah, I do kind of, but I used to.
And you did, yeah. I don't. I have 1 acre and it's just me. and I have 2 dogs. That's it.
Well, you have a garden.
I have a garden, but it's doing absolutely nothing grew in it. Nothing. I got some tomatoes, very small. I had to bring them in to ripen. My cucumbers were like 2 inches long. That's it. Nothing grew. My kale, my lettuce, nothing. My turnip, carrots.
This is the worst garden I've had in a long time, and it's totally weather related. That's it. That's all. And huh?
Go on.
I just said it's totally weather related. That's all I can say without, getting demonetized.
Just so you know, you have 3 dogs and a cat. I do have some roommates. I have 3 roommates, and that's it. So it's just us, and I'm on the outskirts of town, about 10-minute drive to town. So you and me both in regards to the garden. Yeah. Tina and Elliot says you and me both in regards to the garden. Who are you talking about, Bev or myself, Tina?
Everybody's having gardening problems this year. This one guy came on, it never ceases to amaze me how people who want to shoot me down, right? This is actually quite comical. There's people who there's people who always want to shoot me down, right? But instead of commenting on new videos, they go to videos that are over 6 months old or less, or anything over a week old, thinking that I don't follow my comments.
What does that mean?
And it means that whenever I get a comment, even on an older video, I don't get it on, but whenever I get a comment on an older video, I get notified of the comment in my email. And so this person, and one of them had their name as Beverly, right? As if that's going to attract attention and make people listen, right? But this one guy, man, on my laundry soap video, he was like, oh, well, he said, oh, yeah, just the same old tired crap. And I said, well, I get a lot of new people who don't actually have time to sift through 3,500 videos, and not everybody knows how to search a channel, right? But I didn't say that. I just said, how long are you going to do the same old crap? And I said, as long as people want the information, is what I said.
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious you're just doing this. Oh, no, not you. You're just redoing old stuff so that you can star in another video. And you're not even going to use it. You said so yourself. And I said, no, you're totally wrong. But he said, because your stuff's 10 years old, so you don't practice what you preach. All this crap, right? I said, no, you're wrong. My income is less than half of what it was last year because despite what people think, the economy affects my income the most. Why? Because my income is based on ad revenue. And if people aren't clicking on the ads, if people aren't buying on the ads or even watching the ads, why do people watch ads if they can't afford to shop? So they don't. They skip, right? So my income is down to less than half of what it was last year. And I said, so yeah, I'm going to use this. I use this laundry soap. Why wouldn't I? It was called Back to Basics for a reason, right? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And he went on about all this. The economy's great and it's booming and this and that. And I'm just a tired old blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I said, this is as far as I'm going to allow this to go. Okay. Because this is the thing I've been telling you folks. Don't let them get you angry. I said, this is as far as I'm going to allow this to go because you obviously don't want to hear any truth. You just want to, be aggravating. I said, but I'm going to say one thing. If you think the economy's booming, then you must be one of the 1% elite because everybody else is struggling. Everybody, including myself, is pinching pennies and quarters and squeezing quarters. right? I said, so I'm going to say goodbye now, and I'm going to mute you from my channel because you're just here to stir up crap. And Howie goes, oh, you should leave. Why don't you just ignore those comments? I said, because what happens is my YouTube family will see that comment. And if I don't diffuse it and get rid of it, they're going to jump to my defense and get upset and angry. And that is the negative spread of energy, right? So I deal with it and then I mute it. Right. And Howie goes, oh, I never thought of that. And I said, yeah, it's like, it's all about energy exchange. And we can only let negative people say so much before we just stop listening to them because they are from the cloud of chaos. Does that make sense?
Bruno says I click on the ads to at least help the channel because I can't afford a super chat. Linda
Well,
Bob says you're right, Bev.
Thank you, Linda.
Stacy says some people. Stacy Robbins says some people are just so unhappy that they have to tear down someone else to make themselves feel better and more superior. He's a jerk.
And the last thing I said to him was, I'll pray for you. No name calling because we're no better than him when we do, right?
I'll be right back. She has a pressure canner going and she's not here. Hang on.
Okay. Yes, you can. I'm not chastising you for calling him a jerk, but I'm saying this is how they spread the negative chaos. Okay. They spread the negative chaos by getting us angry and retaliatory. And we can't do that because then we're buying into exactly what they want. And that's negative energy. So this is something I have to battle with because if you remember, it wasn't that long ago that I was, if I got hit with negative crap, I would fight back. Not anymore. I don't fight back. I just go, I'll pray for you. Bye-bye.
Freaky Geek says, if you leave that comment alone and chat also does nothing, a new person interested in learning might read that and think something in the video is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like he went on about, and this was the same guy who, by the way, remember the other negative guy who told me, that, oh yeah, because my washing soda was in a block. Obviously, I don't know chemistry, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I put my washing soda block because regardless of the negative crap that this person did, because they had the opportunity to share some information in a loving way, and they chose to call me stupid, right? But I took their information anyway. I put my block of, I'll show you. I put my block of washing soda because you remember I couldn't even break it with a big knife. It would have had to be like a hacksaw or a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you. It's still chunky. But negative delivering of information is still delivering of information, right? So I took my block of washing soda, put it in my stainless steel roasting pan, and put it in the oven for 500 degrees for an hour.
And nice.
Boom. It's still got lumps in it.
Yeah.
But those are easy to break up in hot water.
Yeah.
So, I'm sharing that information in a positive way. Oh, God. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you, Dad, for building these such solid chairs. So, if you have your washing soda, if you buy washing soda, empty it into, this is too small, obviously. Oh, shoot, don't do that. Empty it into a plastic container if you're not going to use it all the time or if you live in a humid climate.
Something good did come out of it in the end, Linda Bob says.
Exactly. That's my point.
Said they aren't worth arguing with. No, you know what? If it was me, I wouldn't even take their comments down because that just shows the type of person they are and let everybody else read them. So what?
But the thing is, this is my reason for taking it down. Is not because I think they're right. And it's not because I don't want people to see it. Well, it is. I don't want people to see it because they like this, like somebody just said, I missed the comment that don't ignore them. That person's a jerk. Well, that's what they want. They want us to say, oh, you're just a jerk. Fuck off. What? Sorry, you're just a jerk. Back off, whatever. No, I don't want people coming into my defense in hurt or anger because that's spreading the negative energy. So I would rather just deal with it and say, you know what? You had an opportunity to be nice and you chose to be this. And if they continue to be that way, then I remove their comment and I hide them from my channel. Because I don't want you guys dealing with the negative energy either. It's exponential, right? What's that? I'm sorry to hear that, Bev. You are truly an inspiration to a lot of people. Hi, Stephen. So
Linda
I
Pop
don't
says
like
they-
Howie. I don't want to leave. I used to pin shit like that at the top of the chat so people could come in and see what kind of people was that. And then I realized I'm just perpetuating the negative energy, right? But as a viewer, I find negative comments to channels stressful. And that's another thing. Thank you. That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
And
But I mean, that's life. That's life.
it is life,
You-
but I'm doing
No,
everything I can these days to stop the spread of negative energy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's our biggest responsibility, right? Is you got people, we're being turned against each other constantly by the dark energy and chaos that's going on in the world. And it makes it 10 times harder for us to share light and love and positive vibes.
I've hold that thought for a second. Kim says, are you still live?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand that. But okay, go on.
They want their 15 minutes of fame. Well, when I get my 15 minutes of fame, I'll tell you how it feels. You know, I mean, let me put it this way. If I had small children, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, they were being bullied in school, would I tell them to fight back? Or would I tell them to take it to a responsible adult and let them handle it?
Yeah.
Right? You know, I don't want my kids I don't want people punching each other out over shit. That's what the darkness wants. That's what the chaos wants. Look at society today and how badly we are turned against each other. Trans versus cis, black versus white, Republican versus Democrat. It's all just bullcrap. It really is. And it's the hands of the elite shaking the jar to keep us at each other so that we won't pay attention to what's going on and do something about it. As a content creator, you can have more control of the negativity on your own channel, even by others in the comments. Yeah. It's hard to create a safe environment without monitoring comments and chat. Exactly. I have to. I may not always see it because that would take hours of my day, right? But every night before I go to bed, I go through the comments of my latest video and I check my emails I have several emails and I check them several times a day to make sure that nobody's being bullied, nobody's being harassed. I don't give a crap if they bully me. Honest to God, I don't, because I can handle it. Because I just say, you know what? You're wrong, right? And don't cast those aspersions on me. But if you need to do that, do it somewhere else. I'll pray for you, right? I know it sounds trite to say I'll pray for you, but praying is just focusing positive energy somewhere. That's all praying is, right? I mean, everybody has different ways of doing it, but the truth is it's just a way of sending positive energy. Because what makes those people so dark, right? What makes them so dark? Maybe they're dying. Maybe they have been brutally turned away by their family or their lover or whatever. Maybe anybody who's putting that much negativity out is in pain, physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual pain, including physical, because I know physical pain can make you bitchy, right? So I have to practice what I preach. Does that make sense? Not that I preach, but I have to live in the rules that I share, right? They haven't been inspired by the light. Exactly, FYI. Oh wait, I gotta turn off my
Bet Linda Bob, Bev, those celery leaves would be good dehydrated than powdered.
Yeah, I know, sweetheart. I hear that every year. But guess what? I might. Okay. I might. I'll go through them, and because there's some bad stuff I'm cutting off in here. I'll go through them, and the best that I'll soak them, and the best I get, I will put in the grinder and maybe, or I'll dehydrate them and grind them. But that just depends on how much time I have in a day. You know, I mean, I am, physically challenged in a lot of ways. You could use them in veggie broth too. I still got veggie broth from last year. And yeah, I'm probably going to make some because, yes, see, look, that's pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm not dehydrating celery this year. Oh, see, that's hollow. Can you see that? That's hollow and brown.
Yeah.
But the other stuff on the outside in those felt beds were rotten, mostly rotten. I was so upset because here I expected to have a ton.
Celery juice every morning on an empty stomach. It'll help reduce your blood sugars, your blood pressure a lot.
What's that?
Celery juice on an empty stomach every
morning. I don't have
morning.
enough celery to make juice.
I know. But it helps to
And
reduce.
yes, folks, my cup looks like that. Do you?
Papers.
Do you know why my cup looks like that? Do you really want to know why my cup looks like that? Because it's my teapot. Okay. I almost got murdered by my cousin Donna when I was living with her, and I cleaned her house and I cleaned her teapot because it was crusted on the inside, right? And she said, "You never clean the inside of a teapot." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Taste this cup of tea." And I went, "Something's different." She said, it builds up a patina of tannic acid on the inside, and it makes the tea.
But tannins aren't good for you. I'm just saying. I remember you freaked out on me because I cleaned your cup. I didn't know when I went there.
When I went over to visit Steffi and Lily and that at Let's Homestead Instead. I went this year, but it was like last year, and I handed my cup to Lily and said, "Here, make Nana a cup of tea." And 10 minutes later, I'm thinking, "Where's my cup of tea?" I go look, and she's scrubbing it with bleach, and I'm going, "Oh, don't do that to my tea cup." And she went she looked like she was going to cry, and I said, "No." So here's the deal, okay? Teapots. They build up, now hear me, they build up a patina of tannins and tannic acid. And that continues to pull the tannic acid out of your tea. So you get a good cup of tea, but less tannins because you're leaving it behind. But if you clean the pot, you're getting it all. Does that make sense? So this is like it's like a protective coating, believe it or not. And I got a teapot on my wish list, man, that I'm going to get one way or another.
Mary Jane Will said, "My sister-in-law never cleaned her pot and it was the best."
I mean, yes, clean the outside and stuff, but I have one teapot that would just fill this cup. That's all. So the cup I want, I have it on Amazon wish list. And no, I'm not asking anybody to buy it for me. I'm just talking about it. It's a 10 cup teapot. which would probably give me 2 of these, right?
Stacey Robbins says, my husband was a U.S. Navy. You never clean a lifer's cup. That's a slap in the face. I
That's right.
think Grandpa did that too.
Well, he served everybody else clean cups. Do you remember those big ones he had? The big tall ones with the emblem on them and the buffalo on the back? And they were this thick and they were solid china. Your grandfather made the best cup of tea ever. Sometimes he put a little bit of, well, for starters, he used whole milk and a little shot of carnation and good, but he always served it in these big china cups. Blame your grandfather for the size of my cup.
No, Nanny Passmore always told me the best cup of tea is served in a
China
cup. So
those cups of your grandfather's, those big buffalo mugs.
They were Stein. They were big.
No, they weren't Steins. They were just they looked like a Stein, but they were a really tall mug. And they had some kind of coat of arms on one side. They had a gold band around the bottom and around the top edge. And they had a buffalo on the back. And I'll tell you, those cups were china. They were bone, but they weren't the thin bone china. They were like really good, heavy. If I could get my friggin' hand, I've actually looked on eBay for those cups. Because to me, here's a story, folks. Angie's grandfather was my mom's brother. Okay. But he was also my father's best friend from childhood. Right. So my Uncle Jim, Angie's grandfather, he was my second dad. And I'll never forget when Dad dropped me off there to stay with them for 3 months while they were building the house and stuff. And by the way, when we looked at our property in Apsley, Dad took me to see it. We went with your dad. Your dad came with us.
Yeah.
And I remember
Dad and Grandpa property too.
Yeah, up on near Clydesdale Road or Jeff Road or somewhere up that way. Mm-hmm. But when Dad left me there to stay with your grandparents for the last 3 months of school, I was about to get homesick before he even left the driveway. And you know what your grandfather did? Something else he made incredibly delicious. He taught me how to make bran muffins. Before Dad could even leave the driveway, he said, let's make bran muffins. And he made the best bran muffins. And, what the hell was I going to say? When I was, just before I got pregnant with Arthur, Donnie and I went up to see my dad one Sunday because it's not that long of a drive from Oshawa to Apsley, right? So we were on our way. Don't get sad here, Angie. It's the story of when your granddad died, when your grandpa died. We were on our way, and as we went up, come on 28, I showed him the hill. I said, see that house way up there? I said, that's my Aunt Audrey and my Uncle Jim's house. And you guys saw the house when I talked to Aunt Audrey on video. And I said, and he said, oh yeah. And I said, if anything ever happens to my dad, Uncle Jim's walking me down the aisle, not a brother, my Uncle Jim. And Donnie looked at me and there was something in my voice. He said, you want to go visit your Uncle Jim? I said, no, we're just going up to Dad's for a day. We got to make a roast, and it was dark on the way back. And I said, no, well, next time.
Yeah.
And I think he died that Tuesday.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3 days later that he passed away, planting trees.
Planting a tree.
God love him.
He died, I think, in Uncle Gary's arms on the way to the hospital. That's what I was told.
Yep.
So,
yep.
But you know what's funny?
I remember Gary saying to Mike at the when we all gathered at your grandparents' place after the service. Mm-hmm. I remember Gary saying to my brother, he said, I had to drink. He died in my arms. And my brother said, do you have any idea what a precious moment you had? you know?
Yeah. You know what's funny about that day? I've never
He
been
was at what, oh, it turned out he wasn't he wouldn't have been home anyway. They were at Vanessa's piano recital.
No,
They
he
were
was
at
at home. He was at home planting the tree.
no. I'm talking about the day that Donnie and I would have stopped. He wasn't home. He was at Vanessa's piano recital or something.
Vanessa didn't take piano that I remember. Maria and I did.
Somebody's piano recital. He was at somebody's recital.
Okay.
Hey, Tinker Bouncing!
You know what's funny about that day?
What?
I've never been sad, and I've never really cried when Grandpa died, because Grandpa was the one who always, whenever we were sick at school or we weren't feeling, Grandpa always came to pick us up. And I was
Me
sick.
too.
I was sick at school that day, and he wasn't feeling well. I had to get Grandpa Murney to come get me that day. And then I went home and I was sleeping. And when I was sleeping, I had this dream. It was very real. And it was my dad had already passed. And it was Dad and Grandpa together holding hands, walking towards me. And it was all white. And all they said was, "Don't worry, Angela. Everything will be all right. Don't worry. Everything's okay." And then Mom's shaking me. She says, "Angie, you got to get up. Grandpa just passed away." And I never had any. Now, Vanessa, we went to get her at school. Vanessa had an absolute
The drama queen, yeah.
right in the
I'm
classroom.
sorry, forgive me. That wasn't very nice.
But she had an absolute meltdown, but I never, ever had any.
How many meltdowns has Vanessa had in her life? Seriously.
Can't count them.
I remember her wedding day, okay? We had come up from Colburn, Wendy and Amanda and I, and we were staying at Dee Dee's, and she's going to get married at Maria's place, right? And they've got this huge outdoor wedding and all this stuff planned, and it friggin' rains. And it friggin' rains the day before and all night, and it's still raining Saturday morning, and she's prostrate on a bed somewhere. Oh, I want to cancel the wedding. So Maria comes out. God love them, eh? Maria comes out and goes, "You know what? I think we should just do what Vanessa wants. This is her day, blah, 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 the whole thing." And I'm looking at her like she sprouted horns or something. I went, "Maria, people are coming from everywhere, all over the country to be here. You can't just postpone it and put it to the next week or the next day. You just can't." Right? The rain stopped. Everything was fine.
Yeah, it did stop, and it turned out to be a beautiful day. I didn't have anything for my girls to wear that day, and I had to whip up 3 dresses within an hour and a half, I think it was, so they could wear something to the wedding. I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I did? I grabbed white, and I had 3 different colors of this other cloth, and I used I had 3 different colors. I had 3 girls, so I used that for the bottom skirt, and I took the white, and I just wrapped it around their body and started sewing and fitting it to their body. It's the only thing I could do, but they turned out beautiful. I have pictures of them.
Angie, you are a miracle on the sewing machine. You put me to shame. See, Angie can sew clothes. I can't. The closest I came to ever sewing clothes was one Halloween. I always made my kids costumes, right? The one time I didn't was with the one we got pictures of with them going trick-or-treating with your kids. And he's wearing this plastic Ninja Turtle costume with a mask. But I remember having spotted cow fabric, like white on black spots on white. And Briar came home from school. You don't get a refund. Oh no, the venue was at her sister's house. The venue was at her sister's house. It wasn't anything. I made all the meat trays for that wedding. I sat in Maria's kitchen. Yeah, they were this big. I made vegetable trays. I made tulips out of radishes, put them on a skewer, stuck them in a radish on the bottom, but I put them through a green onion that I had. Someone said, "Where did you get these?" I made them. It's like everybody's like, "What?" But Briar and Arthur came home from school, And Arthur wanted to be the Grim Reaper, so I made him the Grim Reaper, which was easy. You dress them all in black and give them a hockey stick and a hoodie and like a black hood. But Briar, I folded these great big. They were like curtains. Somebody had given them. They were cotton curtains. So I put the 2 cotton curtains together. I laid them on my kitchen floor, and I said, "Briar, lay down on this." And he did. And I traced around the outside of his body.
Yeah.
With the scissors. I just cut it out. I sewed it together, leaving and split an opening down the back with a tie at the top. I put elastic in the bottom, elastic in the things, and then I made him a hat. And it's take a square and you cut out this much and you cut out this much, and then you fold this part in and it becomes like a hood. But I lined it with pink sweatshirt material. And then before I sewed the flap to the sides, I tucked the ears in. I made the ears and I made ears with pink lining. And everyone's like, "Where'd you get that costume?" Because he went as a Dalmatian. He went as a Dalmatian. It's like, I got a picture of them somewhere. And that, those, I mean, huh?
You know how to sew.
I think sewing, I think it's honestly, I think it's too fussy. I'd rather do quilts.
Because it's I like sewing because I'm impatient that way. I love knitting, but I'm so impatient. I like the results fast, so I prefer sewing because I can.
God, I used to love to knit.
To do half
I
a
used
sweater.
to love to knit. I used to knit all my kids, and that's what I'm actually found my pattern book. I'm really excited because I'm going to knit some things for Bubba for Christmas, because my kids always got handmade gifts at Christmas. Yes, they got toys and new clothes and all that stuff, but they always were taught that handmade gifts were the best. And so
Grim Reaper, who's a hockey fan. Sorry, Bev.
Grim Reaper, who's a hockey fan. I don't get it.
No, you know what? I like knitting, but it doesn't give me the fast results that I like. And then crochet, I was taught when I was a kid, but I still can't crochet. I can do chain links. That's it.
I have never learned how to read a crochet pattern. Wendy showed me how to make a granny square, and I just went on from there. I figured out all my, but to follow a pattern, forget it, because I'm no good at that. I don't know the language of crochet. Yeah.
Makes you a pin.
What?
Yellowbird says my dad was a costume designer, and one year he dressed my brother and I as Sonny and Cher. My sister turned out to be a costume designer. She makes fantastic costumes.
Wow, yeah, Vanessa, she's into the whole steampunk thing, and I did a video with Vanessa. I ran into her downtown Wakefield one day, and I said, "Do you want to do an interview?" Got my phone out, and that was it. But she bustles and all kinds of stuff. She's an amazing designer. She really is. Right? But don't ever tell her I said so. She'd take it as an insult.
I taught Dee Dee how to make her first dress for Paige when she was little. I taught them both how to sew. But I took 4 years of seamstress.
Did you really?
But yeah, in high school.
I didn't know that.
In high school, I didn't. I was going to go on, and then I didn't bother. But I can read patterns, not great, like not really. Well, I don't know. I've got some Victorian.
One of these days, I have a pattern and I have fabric for a regular dress because you know me, I actually like to wear dresses around the house, comfortable dresses. You're gonna have to come up and show me how to do this, because it's been a long time since learning how to read a pattern in grade 10.
Made it Tracy's daughter, Rachel, her grade 12 grad. It was a Victorian dress. And then I made the girl across the road here, her grade 12 grad. And then from that pattern, my daughter's grade 8 grad, I had leftover material, so I made her the same dress for her grade 8 grad. But
is that the red one?
No, it's purple. No, okay. That red one, they bought that secondhand at a secondhand store, and it didn't fit her. So they brought it back And of course, I get nominated to alter it and everything. And then I went to the dollar store
Well,
and
you
I bought
did
a bunch.
take 4 years of seamstress school, Angie. Come on.
I
You're the
bought a
logical
bunch
choice.
yeah, but I bought a bunch of little diamond beads from the dollar store because she already had some on the front of her dress, but there was a bow at the bottom and they ripped it off, so it had all this glue that was showing. So
Yeah.
I bought all the beads to match, and I created a design on the bottom.
I remember you showing me the pictures of that. That was awesome. Do you
Yeah,
want to
so-
see it? Do you guys want to see an upcoming project? I got to show this to you, and it's going to be soon. Oi!
Yeah. Your mom was a seamstress. Stacey
Okay,
Robinson.
I'm shutting that camera off.
Crochet
So-
language is mostly reading shorthand. Yeah, I can read.
Oh my God, I took shorthand in high school. Shorthand. Not shorthand, shorthand.
And
I never understood it.
Ann Ogren says my mom makes my kids homemade dresses or homemade gifts every
Gifts
Christmas.
every year. I read that.
Yeah, you know what we used to cherish? Nanny Passmore would buy those. Oh, what's that? Hold on there.
Okay, tell your story and then we'll talk about it.
Nanny Passmore every Easter. You know, remember those old? They're antique now. They're vintage. Those neat eggs, the big eggs that you're.
From the that they were called legs, and they were an egg that pantyhose came in. Fuck, I'm
So
dating
Nanny
myself
would
now.
take those eggs and she would paint those eggs, and then she would stuff them with things for us, and those were our best. Like she'd just take things that she had around the house and use them. And you know those neat, I went on to look at them on eBay to see if I could buy some, and they're like $50 a pair, $100 for.
They're not neat, they're called legs.
Yeah, and but they're, I don't know why I say neat, but they want like $100, $50 for one of those.
Because you always equate neat with wanting to put pantyhose on, because neat was the shit the poison we put on our legs to kill the hair.
That's right. And actually, I was just talking to my daughter. She was putting something on her legs the other day to take the hair off. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I've got this product I'm rubbing to take the hair off my legs." I said, "Neat." So that's probably. But I said, "You shouldn't use that stuff. That stuff goes into your skin, and if it can, if it can take hair off your leg, you don't want to be." That's you know, that's what she was doing. So that's probably why I keep calling it neat.
Okay. I was wondering when the video will be about them. Soon, Freaky Geek. This. Huh?
Now, there. You're right. So what are you doing with those lights?
Okay. There's a story behind this. Arthur and Mel. I'll show it to you again in a minute. I'm going to tell you the story while I chop. Arthur and Mel. Mel's uncle passed away, and he was living. It's none of my business. It's not my story to tell. Arthur and Mel bought a house that used to be owned by her grandparents. And when we went to visit the last time, they're doing renovations. Arthur's doing renovations. And I'm looking at you know me, there's some reason, and I think it's got something to do with my dad being a light repairman for the hydro. It's my way of being close to my dad. So there's this lamp hanging from where he's tearing a wall down. It's hanging right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "What are you going to do with that lamp?" He said, "If you want it, I'll take it down right now." I said, "Okay." So he did. He took it down and he gave it to me. Now, if you look, huh?
Stephen has to go. I was just saying goodbye.
All right, Stephen, I love you. Look at the age of the wiring on this. It's fabric wiring. And look at this. Look at this. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So this, and there's this. Let's take these chandelier bulbs off. And the candle part comes off and it's just a bare socket. And this is just cardboard, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to revamp the lamp. And in my bedroom, I have a ceiling fan with one stupid chandelier bulb in it because the
Mhm.
socket for the light in the fan is a chandelier size bulb, right? So I immediately, as soon as I saw that, I went, I know where it's going. So I bought me some spray paint and
Oh,
some shades. And I'm going to rewire that lamp with new cord, like lamp cord. And I'm going to clean it, rewire it, and paint it. And I'm going to have Howie hang it in the bedroom. But that's going to be a project.
Bev, I got a lamp on my kitchen table. If you want it, you can have it. It's about 20 years old, but
Let me see.
it doesn't work. But Howie might be able to fix it.
Wait, let me see. What's wrong with that? Is it a plug-in?
It's the cord. Somebody took the old cord off. I had it out in the garage for years, and they put a new cord on, and it doesn't work.
I
don't
want
know.
it. I want it.
I
don't know why, but I got a thing for lamps. So this lamp, take a good look at it, folks. This lamp is going to be, it's probably going to take me a week to get it all done. All right. But you're going to see me revamp the lamp. Somebody else said that. Somebody else gave me that, coined that phrase for me. Huh?
Those old lamps are coming back in style. So's the wicker ones, eh?
You should see the shades.
Lamps.
I hunted for shades for a long time because they want to sell you them in sets of 6 or 5 or to buy them individually, they were like $15 a piece.
Yeah.
So I actually found a set of shades, 3 shades, and I think that cost me $23. And the spray paint cost me $13. So it's not going to be a cheap lamp, but the lamp itself was free. So it's going to be fun. It's gonna be fun. You know me. I think of new projects all the time.
I had a nice one here. It had the gold chain, the hanging gold chain, and then
Yeah.
you plug it in, and you could put it on a hook on your ceiling, and it had the nice bamboo wicker around it. However, somebody stole it from here. I don't know where it is. It's gone. So there was a lot of things stolen here.
Well, yeah, because you had renters in there who didn't give a shit about your house.
I took down the 40-year-old chandeliers from my sister's house and I rewired them. They're beautiful, but she hated them. Yeah.
Well, this like Arthur said, if you want it, I'll take it down right now. I don't see the same thing other people see. I see potential. And that's going to be, I'm not even going to tell you. I can't tell you because then you're going to miss it.
I bought all new lamps here. So that one I just brought in from the garage and thought, well, I wonder if I can get it going, but I don't have the.
I can rewire it. It. It's not an issue. So the next time you come up, when are you going to come up?
I don't know. Chris was here the other day. He's coming sometime this weekend to bring me because he's going to fill up my gas can for me so I can mow my lawn. So I'll ask it. His daughter's coming down this weekend, maybe on his next weekend off, which is not this weekend, but the following. Maybe I'll ask
this
him.
weekend is a race weekend for Howie too.
Not this weekend coming.
Yeah,
not the next
this week.
It'll be 3 weeks. But you know what? This guy mentioned I have an oil light from the 60s where the oil travels down the. So you know what? I have a bunch of them. I got all of Nanny's oil lanterns from her house. I think I got 3 of them here.
Oh my God. Real? Yeah. I have one. I used to have a bunch, but I have one that I spent $10 on at a yard sale. And it's got the glass shade over the glass shade. Well, it has the milk glass shade that sits on it. It looks like a regular lamp, but it's an oil lamp. I love that thing.
What does she mean when she says the oil travels down these wires?
I don't know.
Yeah. Linda Bob says, Bev, how's Bubba?
Oh, my Bubba. They all got a cold. Everybody, a lot of her family came back from vacation from different places and brought colds with them. So Bubba's got 5 teeth now. And he's got 5 teeth. and he's a going concern, man. He's damn near walking. He's like standing up anywhere he can stand up. He's face planted a couple of times, but you know, he's figuring it out, man. And he can walk if somebody holds one hand. He can talk.
How old
So
is he now?
8 months.
Yeah.
8 months old. And I'd love to show you the pictures that we took the last couple of visits. Mel got them developed and sent them to me, and I've put them in frames on my TV stand. And the only ones that are missing is I want a picture of Arthur and Mel and Bubba together, and a picture of me and Howie and Bubba together, because those are the only things I need to complete. You know, the photos. I'm just going to start putting photos on my walls again. I wanted Howie to paint.
Mineral oil in Greenlands.
They're what?
I'm just reading. Willow says mineral oil in the rain. Take numerous trips and form. Suburban Hillbilly says went through some of my mom's personal items a couple of weeks ago. It's hard, and she had no clutter, and every inch of the house is completely organized. Get emotional with some items. Robin Rose says, as a kid, it took all I had not to touch the oil.
I think I know what she's talking about, but it's really far in the back of my brain.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. Oh gosh. Well, listen, folks. I'm gonna get off here because you just don't want to sit and listen to me and Angie talk for the next hour, right? We've been here for an hour. So I'm gonna get going. I'm making, what am I making for supper tonight? Oh, video on our half-acre homestead tomorrow is my zucchini parmesan. That's what I meant to tell you guys. Didn't have the good parmesan, didn't have mozzarella, so I used marble, and I used Catelli spaghetti sauce. But I'll tell you something, I made a little casserole dish, like a 9x13 pan or 9x11 pan or something. And Howie ate one slab and he goes, it's okay, you know, it's pretty good and stuff. But he told me later, oh, it was too acidic. It's not too acidic. It's Catelli pasta sauce. It's full of sugar, right? He just didn't want to admit that he doesn't like zucchini, but he ate it. Guess who ate the rest?
Does he like zucchini bread? Does he like zucchini bread? It just tastes like banana bread to me.
Yeah, but he doesn't like chunks of zucchini, and I use slices of zucchini. He ate it all, but he didn't take seconds.
Well,
So I had seconds for my snack last night. And you know what? It was so good that but tonight I'm going to take a jar of chicken and I'm going to make chicken and gravy over mashed potatoes and make him feel better. Can't give him tomato. He's like my dad. My dad never liked tomato sauce and tomatoes in soup. And I remember making a pot of soup once and throwing in a can of tomatoes. And my dad said, you Passmores and your tomatoes.
I love tomatoes in the soup.
Yeah. I think it's because I think somewhere in the European side of us that there's some Italian. I honestly do. I don't think Passmore means pass the Moors. I think it means Passmore.
Murray and I, when we were younger, got mistaken for Indigenous. We got mistaken for Italian because back when we were kids, we had darker skin.
Yeah.
We were just a little darker.
We got the sun.
Pardon?
We're always out in the sun.
Yeah, we were never allowed in the house.
And
we
you
were
got
always outside.
You got your grandpa's olive skin. Well,
Dad had darker skin tone. In some of the pictures, I don't remember him more. You remember more than I do.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I worked at Zeller's, I dyed my hair auburn, right? Like dark auburn. It was it was really like a dark chestnut. And somebody, the natives would come to the indigenous folks from Curve Lake would come, and they would, they had a card. this, that they didn't have to pay tax, right? And so one day someone came up and I said, I said, do you got you got your, she said, I didn't bring my card. I said, that's okay. What's your band number? And I looked it up and I boom, right? And she said, and she looked at me. It was after I dyed my hair dark. And she said, are you a tailor? Asked me if I was a tailor. I said, no, I've dated a few. I've dated a few tailors. But they said, you look native. I said, it's the dark hair. I dyed my hair dark. And yet I've got very fair skin, blue eyes, but my bone structure, So.
Well, I was always told that there was Native on Grandpa's side. Then Nanny said that's not true.
Yeah, well,
she said,
no offense, Nanny, but Uncle Bill corroborated it for me.
Even Aunt Jean, they look like Eskimo, like they look Inuit.
Aunt Jean, Uncle Bill, Aunt Toots, they all looked native. And even your grandpa, if he wasn't wearing a beard, but it's the dark skin, right? Like half of the family, you took the family portraits, half of the family of all those kids, your grandpa's family and my mom's family. If you divided the kids right down the middle, you'd have some that look like me, which is like totally British, right? Like Uncle Joe always said, I looked Eames, right? And the other half looked like native or Italian or whatever. I mean, my Aunt Diane, my mom's younger sister, Mom looked like a little British girl with the white skin and all that stuff. And Aunt Diane looked like a little native girl standing next to her. But they were sisters.
You know what? Talk to Sean, because when last I was speaking to Sean, or he posted about it, there is no native in his family, he said. He said that's a myth. There's no native. Uncle Bill has no native. So I don't know. And that's his son, right? Uncle Bill's son.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
When Howie and I went to visit Aunt Gladys and Uncle Bill, God rest their souls, while we were on our honeymoon. And Uncle Bill and Howie got right fucking hammered. Hammered. Oh, watch my language. They got hammered because. Huh?
Uncle Bill and who?
Howie. We went there for our honeymoon. Okay.
Okay.
And Howie had bought some 151 rum at the border. And I think it was Lamb's and or Navy rum, something like that. And when we got there, Uncle Bill met us at the ferry because we had to take the late ferry. So it was 10 at night. We had to follow him because we drove, eh? We had to follow him back to their house. So it was like 11 o'clock at night, right? And Howie pulled out a bottle and Uncle Bill looked at it and went, ooh, I haven't had any of that since I was in the Navy. And Howie said, well, let's crack her. Well, poor, Aunt Gladys ended up going to bed. I said, it's okay, Aunt Gladys, I'll keep an eye on them. Right? But all the conversation Uncle Bill and Howie had. But the next day, Howie was still asleep. I don't know where Aunt Gladys was, but I was sitting at the table having a cup of tea with Uncle Bill. And I said to Uncle Bill, do we have native in our blood? And he just looked right at me and he said, are you kidding me? He said, look at half of my brothers and sisters. That was all he said. So I don't know if it was a myth that he didn't realize or if he knew something I didn't. But I know my brother was in a film once that had to be, you had to be a part of it. In the film, a certain percent of the cast had to be Indigenous because it was a film about Indigenous. I don't even know what the film was. But my brother said that my great grandmother was named Elizabeth Canoe. And she married, this is the story I got. She was a nanny for this family. And when the wife died, she married the father. So half the kids were his from his wife and the rest were from her. And you're talking about shunned because back then If a Native woman married a white man, she became white and lost status, and she was
she lost
stricken
her
from the
status.
records.
Yeah.
Okay. If a white woman married a Native man, she got his status, which
Right.
is totally wrong. It should always be the women's status, always,
They switched
because we're
it
the
back,
carriers of the bloodlines, right?
Bev, they switched it back because Rick
Well, I
was
know
the
they
one
switched
who
it
never
back,
wanted.
but I
So
remember when I wrote.
my girls are right now applying for their status because Rick got his. My girl's great grandmother is Catherine Sutton, who is one of the leading Indigenous women in the world.
Yeah.
You know, she had land and then they took it and then she had a meeting with the Queen. She got it back, whatever. But so they're still right now trying to get theirs, but their
18
kids
oil
will be able
lamps.
to get it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
Well, that's the
a lot of
story
oil
I
there.
got. So that when she married a white man, she was disowned.
Yeah.
By her tribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why there's no record of a Native woman because she married a white man and lost status. Now, if you go by ancestry, okay, it's really weird. Some of my family's done ancestry, and Jimmy and Susie.
So are you talking about Passmore side? So the canoe that's on my side
not
is not
Passmore, Eames side. Eames,
but
which is your great grandmother Passmore's maiden name. She was Eames. Passmore, if you go back, your grandfather told me stories about how the father and the sons were off in the war, some war, and she got attacked. Her and the kids got attacked.
That's what I was told.
Yeah, but she was never raped. Right?
I was told she was.
I was told she was making soap in a big cauldron at the time. And as they were attacking her, she dumped it on them because they were raping somebody. And she just tipped the whole fucking cauldron of boiling soap. I thought, wow, man, that's where my genes come from, right? But so it keeps splitting back and back and back. So that's where Mark says that's where the myth of the may have come in, but it's not. It's from the Eames side, which were mostly British descent, right? But Jimmy and Susie got their blood work done, and I'm not saying last names, but they got 6% Native, and yet my brother Billy got his done, and there was none.
Yeah.
And there is no Native. There is no Native in their father's side.
Listen, we have a friend who.
So they're not that correct. You know what I mean?
They did 6 different blood tests for like the 1, 2, 3 and all of those things. He did 6 different ones and they all came back very different. So
yeah, Howie did 23andMe.
That's what it is, 23andMe. But you know what?
Take care of those guys who are leaving. Take care. God bless. You're actually just watching me and Angie talk at this point.
This goes back into the conspiracy thing. There was talk about people doing these blood tests to find out their DNA, but what they were doing was taking people's blood and doing other things with it. So I don't know. But I know that my friend did 6 different tests and they all came back very different. So I don't think they're accurate.
Uncle Jim, not your grandpa, the other Uncle Jim, he was from Greece. He wasn't from Greece, but that's where his descendants came from, right? Yeah. So they wouldn't have got Native blood from his side. It would have had to come from their mom, my Aunt Diane, your great Aunt Diane, and she looked Native, right? She looked Native, Aunt Diane did. She was Mom's baby sister, and yet.
Uncle Joe did a little bit, but I think Bill, Jean, and Diane got the most of it.
I'm going to say Aunt Toots, your dad, your grandpa, Aunt Diane, Uncle Bill, Aunt Jane and Uncle Paul. Uncle Paul. That man never went gray. He lost his hair, but he never went gray. Aunt Jane never went gray. Sometimes
she was married to Roger, right?
Who?
Aunt Jane.
No, Aunt Jane was married to Uncle Reg.
Reg, that's it. Reg.
Yeah.
Reggie.
Yeah.
I just remember them visiting Grandpa once, and it was I just have a narrow vision of them, but
well,
I don't
I've got
remember
pictures.
what he looks like, but I do her.
Aunt Jane was about 4'11".
Yeah.
And dark. Always dark. But then she was always in the sun too. Huh?
I remember Uncle Paul.
Yeah.
When he came
Uncle
to stay
Paul
with Grandpa.
God forgive and rest his soul.
Well, Grandpa never left us alone with him, put it that way, but
yeah.
Hate to say that.
Well, my dad didn't know. My dad didn't know. But my mom did, and she protected him. And that I'm not going to go any farther on that. But he never got to me because of Wendy. Wendy would not leave me alone in the house. She wouldn't leave me in a room alone with him. So anyway, Howie got 23andMe for Christmas a couple of years ago from his mom. And he came back kind of 92% Irish or something. Right? Irish Welsh. Because his grandfather came over, my Nan's dad came over on the orphan ships from Wales.
Yeah.
And Foley was actually O'Fulla. And it went from O'Fulla. It's about this long, the name, actually. Mm-hmm. If you try and actually pronounce it phonetically, it goes O'Fulla.
Well, those
he came back 92% British Isles, right?
Yeah, we got that too.
And he got 6%, and the rest was European.
Yeah, my daughter got that, but we got Nanny Passmore and Kyla both got Scandinavian.
Yes,
got
Howie got Scandinavian. There was I can't remember if it was a very small. It was like 92% British Isles, like Wales, Irish, all that stuff, and the rest was Scandinavian and European. And so I said, if you think about it, most people from England and all that stuff, were infiltrated. If I get mine done, guaranteed, it's going to be Scandinavian, a lot of Scandinavian, because my family goes all the way back to the Vikings. And no, I am not descended. I am half-assed, but I am not descended from, who's the Viking? Ironside. Okay, Ragnar, and Roloff. I can't remember if those are their exact names. One went to Europe and married in to keep peace, right? He went to the French, right? Mm-hmm. That's where my Viking side comes from, not his brother. Even though his son was named, he named his son Ironside because no sword or arrow pierced his side in battle, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not my direct descendant. He's like a distant uncle.
Okay.
No, he's a distant cousin because it was his dad, but it was his brother. I think it was Roloff, who went to the French and married into them to kind of create a union, right? A peace accord, kind of. And that's where my dad's family's descended from. But it'll come out like 90% Scots and British, But it'll come out, there'll be Scandinavian there because that's, I'm German, Irish, Dutch, Swedish. You sound Canadian to me. Cherokee Indian. Oh, there you go. I did our genealogy on my dad's side and on my mom's side. Okay, that's another thing is people are just spitting into a tube and sending it out, and they're getting a really, really, you can't, we're not at the point where we can spit into a tube and get an exact diagnosis of our genealogy. These are all, it's all kind of, little bits, right? But I want to get my matriarchal DNA done, my mom's side, because I know where I come from on my dad's side. My grandparents on my dad's side, they landed in 1919 in Canada from Aberdeen, Scotland. So no, and my grandmother was, I do believe she was British Irish somewhere, right? But my granddad was Scots. So I mean, no surprise if I did just a broad spectrum DNA thing, right?
Yeah.
But I'd like to get my matriarchal DNA tested, and I just gonna wait one of these days to see if I can get it done. But I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I've got to get these dogs outside, and I've got to give them some water. Nala's on my side, just begging to go out. So Norwegian, if you're Viking.
Well, I don't know. I just know that the DNA, it was somebody else in my family did the history. And it turned out that oh, and we weren't just Viking. We're berserkers. That's where Viking came from, eh? That's what they say William Wallace was, a berserker. What's a berserker?
Yeah.
Well, a berserker is supposedly, and that's where you get my temper from.
Hi, Tina. Right?
Take care, honey. A berserker it's kind of a mythical person, but it's not. There's a reason I've always had rage issues. Like I remember sitting here with Billy and Wendy and saying, I have anger issues. And Billy said, no, you don't. I said, yeah, I have major. He said, no, Bev, we have rage issues. I went, right. So a berserker is somebody that would get so enraged that their eyes, like if you look at my eyes, they're not actually, they're blue, but they're dark, right? Mm-hmm. And a berserker's eyes, they said would glow brilliant blue when he was in a rage. Oh. And berserkers are the people, the berserkers were warriors that you couldn't stop them, right? Did you remember the old Monty Python? Oh, they took off his leg. Oh, it's just a flesh wound. Get back here, That's a play on a berserker, right? Okay. They just won't stop until their head's gone. They just keep going, right? Mm-hmm. Because they channeled rage so effectively in battle, right? Mm-hmm. That's a berserker. But the old tales that say they had their eyes glowed with an unholy light of blue, right? But berserkers were blue eyes, right? So I don't know. It's just all these things I've heard in my life. And it's like my brother Billy said, no, we have rage issues. And I said, I wonder why that is. And that's when he said, because we come from berserkers, Beth. Yeah, right? So, maybe. I don't know. But it sure makes for a good story, don't it?
Sounds like my
nothing else, a Passmore knows how to tell a good story. Right? So listen, folks, I have got to I'm almost full, but I've still got a half a bag to go. And I've got to blanch this and get it on trays in the freezer. And then I might start working on my lamp. But because I'm going to have to spray paint it outside. So I want to make sure I do it right. And I'm going to use a white lamp cord. I'm even going to spray the chain. Right? Okay. It's all going to be one color. And then what?
Nothing. I'm just listening to you.
I went to different states and courthouses, libraries, and genealogy studies. My dad, my dad did a family tree. What is there somebody here, Gracie? Somebody pull in? Somebody delivering something? I love deliveries. My dad had, I think it's still downstairs, the genealogy chart. I asked for that when my dad died. And you know what? Most of his research papers were missing. But I've got the chart that goes all the way. Did you just fart? Gracie Magoo. Your farts aren't
Oh,
supposed to make noise because you have no bum cheeks. It was
bye,
like,
Freaky.
anyway, guys,
Fun.
I'm sure everybody has work to do, so I'm just going to say goodbye. And thanks for listening to us just ramble on. Don't take anything of what we say seriously, because everything we've learned is 90% hearsay and tall tales from our grandparents and our aunts and our uncles. So suffice it to say, we're Canadian, which means we are everything under the sun and a little bit more. And that's what makes us amazing, North American people who were not Indigenous people, are some of the true North American people, the first up after the Indigenous people, because we've been here for so long. Well, not me. I mean, I'm second generation Canadian. My dad was first generation Canadian. As a matter of fact, when my dad went into the military, they would not let him put his ID down as Canadian. He said, "What are you talking about? I was born here." "Where were your parents from?" "Scotland." "You're Scots Canadian." So my dad in the military was not allowed to be labeled as a Canadian. He had to be labeled as a Scots Canadian, right? So technically, by those old rules, I'm a first generation Canadian, right? But our Indigenous people were here first, and we can't give them back the land, but we should give them the respect. And they need clean water, Turtle. There's that Tourette's again. Moron. There it is. I love you guys. Take care. God bless. And we'll have a chat later, Angie.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you.
Okay. Love ya. Bye,
God
guys.
bless everybody. Now, how do I do this?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm supposed to do this. How does
How do
this
I-
work? Oh, there it is. The X. Do the X
There.
and hit end.